I wanted to start with something that's a little bit of a newsy topic because this happened last week, shortly after we recorded, because that's always how things happen when big controversies break. Luan Machado, I don't know if we can put the video up, probably not, but if you haven't seen it, go check on Twitter. Just search Luan Machado. There'll be no shortage of videos of this incident. So basically, he was riding in the last race at Keeneland on Thursday, and he was ahead by like 5-6 lengths at the 16th pole and essentially stopped riding. And for an entire 16th of a mile and got nailed on the wire by a horse who James Graham probably was like, well, what did I, I must have the horseshoe at my ass for this to be able to happen, me to be able to win this race. It cost a pick six player who was alive to the whole pool the pick six. He was alive to Luan Machado's horse and not the other horse. And it was, to me, it was pretty clearly an honest mistake because Keeneland has this stupid system where they have two different wires. They have the first wire finish in certain races, and then they have the actual wire. Seems to me pretty obvious that he thought this was a first wire race. Still a pretty egregious mistake, and for him to not even look around or look back or anything to see that the other riders were still riding cost a lot of people a lot of money. He got 3 days suspension, a $2,500 fine. To me, that seemed very, very light, especially relative to the money that he cost other people who were betting on the race. But Tony, you had some thoughts on this on Twitter. Why don't you just start off by saying, what do you think about this punishment for this kind of offense?
Yeah, I think the punishment was clearly far too light, but that's within the context of how jurisdictions around the world typically handle these kind of things. In other words, I can be critical of a lot of penalties that are levied on American riders. But in this case, I thought that it was, as you suggest, egregious for a couple of reasons. You know, penalties, all penalties, not just in horse racing, are designed primarily to discourage others from engaging in the same behavior. And as I pointed out on my tweet, if speeding violations cost the offenders $5, it's quite clear that our road system would be much more dangerous than it is, because there's more incentive, there's more disincentive to speed. It's the same sort of thing with the riders. Yes, it's absolutely a big problem that the bettors who lost money when they literally held winning tickets or should have held winning tickets, that's a big problem. It's also a big problem. I know that there are other riders who earn less, but this particular rider has earned hundreds of thousands of dollars this year alone. This is not discouragement. Now, I agree with you that it was an honest mistake, but I don't really think that is enough to warrant such a light fine. And someone responded on my tweet that very recently in Australia there was a rider who was penalized for very much the same thing. He eased up for whatever reason, 40 yards from the wire, and he got a month suspension. Now, a month suspension, forget about fines, that would sting for any rider, especially if they're not able to pick and choose when they're able to serve the suspension. So, yeah, I don't think that it's consistent with a much more serious approach to the problem around the world. And I thought that was a pungent example of something that needs to be addressed in the American industry.
Yeah, and it really had to burn people, I think, who needed that horse to then watch Luan Machado win at like 30-1 in the Perryville and
Yeah.
probably beat a lot of people out of tickets who single book him Dano or just used a couple in there. And then he won the Dowager on Sunday. I don't know. It's just the kind of thing that really puts a bad taste in people's mouth. Hey, this guy cost me all this money by, being pretty plainly incompetent. And now here he is winning stakes and beating me out of other tickets. It's really unfortunate. Like, I don't think he should be drawn and quartered like some people on Twitter were saying, but 3 days, and I don't know, it's a pattern in racing where people just get slaps on the wrist, if you can even call them that, for, things that to me should be absolutely deal breakers in terms of continuing to participate, at least for a little bit, in racing. But yeah, it was It's just one of those things that the second I saw it, I was like, oh my God, racing Twitter is going to be en fuego with this. And there was certainly a lot of discussion about it.